What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Bad Religion. And we're returning to Suffer 1998 for a track I can't believe I haven't reacted to yet after doing Bad Religion reactions now for about 2.5 years, I think almost 3 years. And that is Do What You Want. So this is one that is quite short. It's about a minute long. I'm guessing this intro will be 4 to 5, maybe 6 times as long as the song itself, but I will try to be concise. It's written by Mr. Brett, not Greg, which is actually interesting to me. More on that in a moment. But it mixes a couple different philosophical perspectives and attitudes. It, of course, exudes a punk rock ethos, the idea of doing what you want, even if that goes against accepted social mores or moral convictions on a societal level or ideological belief systems that are considered sacrosanct. But it mixes that with the ruminations of, let's say, Nietzsche in Beyond Good and Evil, or with the idea of his will to power, a phrase which was unfortunately and quite genocidally distorted or at least extended by his sister following his death. Nevertheless, this is not an apologia for Nietzsche. He is a complicated mind and one who said some things which are truly terrifying and do speak to the way some of his ideas were used later, but I do think some of his writings indicate an idea or a hope that humanity could overcome archaic doctrines and brutality that had characterized human history up until the point he was writing and unfortunately beyond. In any case, the point is it speaks to the way of, or the concept of the Übermensch, the idea of a person who believes themselves to be beyond traditional or typical understandings of good and evil, beyond morality, and thus capable of acting in ways that might be destructive, but could also be part of something new or something fruitful. And indeed, there's a line in the song, "I'll tear down the building just to pass through the door," and it speaks to the way in which humans in our modern world end up feeling, in many cases, apathy or misanthropy because of the daily grind of our lives and the way we feel limited or restricted by these systems of belief and politics and society that we are tangled within from our very earliest moments and memories and experiences. And he's saying, well, I am going to do what I want. You can do that too, but don't do it around me. Thus recognizing that this idea to be beyond good and evil and to make our own decisions divorced from any pre-existing and traditional ways of thinking and acting can of course, and sometimes do, impose on others. And so there's a recognition that in our attempt to be a Superman or to get beyond archaic ways of behaving and thinking and feeling, we could in fact cause damage to others. And thus there's a self-awareness about the contradictions of such an idea as the Superman itself. And indeed, when I first saw or heard this song, I thought it was written by Greg, because there's a line that says, well, I don't know if the billions, meaning billions of humans, will survive, but I'll believe in God when 1 and 1 are 5. So I'll never believe in God, essentially, because 1 and 1 will not equal 5 unless, I suppose, you could contrive some abstract expression of why, in contradiction to the math or logic of that saying or that phrase, that somehow it would be true or equal in that sense. So I assumed, again, that Greg, a more thoroughgoing naturalist or physicalist, as he would say in more recent years, must have written it, but in fact it's written by Mr. Brett. And I remember seeing a quote by him a few years back that was something to the effect of, well, look, I do believe in God, but when I say I'll believe in God when 1 and 1 are 5, thus I don't believe in God, what I mean to say is I don't believe in a Christian or Abrahamic sense of God. And so for me, the idea of being this decision maker who'll do what I want is not beholden to this understanding of a supernatural deity that has somehow prescribed everything that we're feeling, including this grind and apathy of modern life as part of some supposedly teleological divine plan. So I don't believe in that, and I'm going to try to go beyond that, even if Brett, in his own psychological and philosophical beliefs, does hold some conviction toward, a higher power or some deistic entity, perhaps. And so I found that very interesting because, again, many people who do believe in a, let's say, Abrahamic or Christian understanding of a God act or believe or impose their will in ways that do affect other people and can cause harm to different places and people around the world. So, yeah, it's a very complicated song despite its being only 1 minute long. I think it speaks to, again, a punk ethos, a sort of Nietzschean understanding of morality, but also a live and let live, and a NIMBY, not in my backyard type of attitude. So I think there's some internal contradiction in the song, which is, of course, when he speaks in the song about being this, it's like an anthropoid, like a misanthropic anthropoid. So like this idea, like I'm a human and I'm trying to think and feel as a human, but that leads me to be sort of bitter or jaded toward other humans and their feelings and thoughts. There's a real nuanced and complicated nature to it. So I've already talked way too much. Let's listen to the song itself. This is Bad Religion. The song is Do What You Want, and it's from their 1988 album, Suffer.
I know this anticipation breed apathy. I'll sit on my ass all goddamn day. A misanthropic anthropoid with nothing to say. What you must do all you can. Break all the fucking rules and go to hell with Superman and die like a champion. Yeah, hey! Hey, I don't know if the billions will survive, but I'll believe in God when one and one are five. Monitor is bad, and I'll run to the core. I'll tear down the buildings just to pass through the door. So do what you must, do all you can. Break all the fucking rules and go to hell with Superman and die like a champion. Yeah, hey!
Okay. So I do love in some live performances of this, I've heard Greg will change the word man to Greg. My moniker is Greg, and I'm rotten to the core. I'll tear down the building just to pass through the door. Which again speaks to humanity, right? Like sometimes humans en masse or in large aggregations will convince themselves of the desirability of some goal, and in some cases they'll actually cause great destruction in the pursuit of what might be fundamentally an admirable plan. So yes, whether it's acting in contradiction to established ways of thinking and feeling, or even in pursuit of established ways of thinking and feeling, humans can transcend good and evil in ways that are hard to parse out ethically. And there's again the idea that doing what you want might mean imposing on others and preventing them from doing what they want. And where do you draw the line? So, like I said, it's a minute long. It just rockets it out like all the other Bad Religion fast songs, past and present. But I think this song's sonic character is very reflective of their late 80s, very early 90s period, which I've mentioned many, many times is my favorite Bad Religion era, which is to say Suffer, No Control, and Against the Grain especially, and then I extend Generator and Recipe for Hate as a sort of like 1B to those 3 1A albums. So yeah, again, I think it's reflective of their intelligent songwriting. They were in their late 20s when they wrote this, because I think they were like late teenagers in the very early 80s when they got started, so by this time it's about a decade later, and they were in their late 20s, but yeah, it's an impressive philosophical examination or exploration. I don't think there's any definitive conclusion. I don't think there's any statement of this is the right way to see morality or individual agency, but it seeks to explore the contradictions and complexities of those concepts. So yeah, let me know what you think of this one. As I said, I'm surprised I hadn't reacted to it yet. I think there's a lot of people who aren't even particularly knowledgeable or interested in Bad Religion who may have heard this one. It's sort of a landmark song for them because I think it's one that sort of, broke its way through to punk music more broadly, even among people who weren't necessarily following the band specifically. And I even have some friends I remember back in the day who didn't really listen to Bad Religion much, but like, oh, play the one where he says like, die like a Superman, yah hey. I was like, okay, it's not quite the line, but yes, I'll play that one. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.